tried so hard.
What you really want? What you really want?
But it doesn't even matter. Come on, tried so hard.
What you really want?
It doesn't even matter. It doesn't even matter. Come on, try.
Give me a sign. Dog, I meet bitches, the street bitches, slash, cocoa puff, sweet bitches, make you wanna eat bitches, but not me.
I tried so
I fuck with these hoes from a distance. The instant they start to catch feelings, I start to. What is it you want from it? I gave you, you gave me. I played you, you played me.
and got so far, but in the end, it doesn't even matter. I had to lose it all, but in the end, it doesn't even matter.
Welcome once again to another live edition of the Showcase Pod. I am Don Vega, joined by the boss, Chris Blackheart. We're back in the studio.
Back to the studio, back live at 9.
Back live, back in the studio.
Feels good.
It's not loud. We don't got banging, clanging, all that stuff. We don't got little people behind us.
No, they're midgets because they make all the money.
Yes.
Little people don't make the money, midgets do.
Well, speaking of making money and all that stuff, we always get a guest on the show, and this week, no exception. Today's guest is none other than Joe Matterazzo. I go way back with him. Joe, welcome to the Showcase Pod.
Thank you guys for having me. This is great. I haven't seen you in so long, man. This is great. We do go way back, don't we?
Yes, we do. And speaking of going way back, I always like to start off the show by asking you, how did you get bitten by the pro wrestling bug?
So it happened. I was probably at the time, we're going way back. I was about probably 11 or 12 years old. My uncle brought me to my very first live show. I had never even seen it on television, over at the Braintree Armory. And it was a Kowalski show. I found that out later on. And I was hooked immediately. But I had no idea this stuff was on television. So we go to the show. I'm running around chasing everybody, trying to get autographs as a little kid. And I thought these guys were superheroes. This was the most amazing thing I ever saw in my life. So a little bit later on, as things go on and flipping channels on the TV, I end up coming across, it was Pat Patterson interviewing Ivan Koloff. And here's Patterson in the suit jacket interviewing, and Koloff's got the chain around him, and Koloff just absolutely bitch slaps Patterson across the face, right? And I'm sitting, my eyes are like this. I'm like, what is this? This is amazing. And he goes off, Patterson goes off on an absolute tirade, and they're beeping him out and censoring him, and Koloff screws, and he's throwing his jacket around. I'm going, this is amazing. What the hell am I watching? And that was the end of the show that day. And I'm like, now I'm flipping channels. I'm like, there's got to be more of this. And I come across Kevin Von Erich against Ric Flair for the title in World Class. I'd never seen this before. This was the first match, and I came in just after it had started, and I'm listening to the crowd, and it was something, if anybody's ever watched the original stuff from World Class, it was like the Beatles. The way these girls were screaming and everybody else, these guys were mega superstars, and I was hooked. Kevin Von Erich was my favorite from that point on, and I said, this is what I want to do. I got to get involved in this. So as I get a little bit older, funny part, I'm working at a school for special needs kids right out of high school, just volunteering my time, helping out. And the school nurse knows that I'm into wrestling, and she asks me about it. She goes, would you ever want to do that? And it was just a friendly conversation. And I said, yeah. I said, I'd love to. I said, but man, I don't know what to do, where to go, who to find. At the time, everything was still real kayfabe, real quiet. So this is like 1988, 89. Mm-hmm. She comes back to me the next day, and she said, my brother-in-law can help you. And I said, for real? And she said, yes. I said, okay. I said, well, how's he going to help me? She said, you need to get $3,000 up, and you need to go to Canada, and he's going to sponsor you in up at Bret Hart's father's place. And I go, who the hell is your brother-in-law? And I didn't realize her last name was Sullivan, and her brother-in-law was Kevin Sullivan. Mm-hmm. So I said, Oh my God, my head's now blown, right? I'm an 18-year-old kid, like ready to just pack up and leave, go to Canada. So I said, how the hell am I going to come up with $3,000? Might as well have been $1 million. So I went to my father and I said, Pops, I said, listen, I need to borrow some money. And he goes, yeah, what kind of money? And my father was real strict. He hated the fact that I loved wrestling so much. And I said, I needed to go to wrestling school. I don't really remember what happened after that. I'm sure he whacked me across the room at that point, called me a bunch of names, everything else. So when I woke up 2 days later, I was like, what the hell happened? He's like, I don't ever want to hear you talk about this stuff again. So dreams dashed at that point, right? I'm like, well, now I got to find another way. What kills me is not realizing 40 minutes from my house, I could have gone to Kowalski's school over in Malden. But I didn't know anything about it. And again, didn't know anyone that was there until much, much later. So now we fast forward, get to 1994, and WAAF, I was an avid fan, listener, were giving away tickets to wrestling. I ended up winning tickets during the week, and they were taking all ticket holders, anybody who won them. The grand prize at the end of the week was going to be somebody was going to get to be the guest ring announcer at the Lowell Memorial Auditorium on TV. So I win the tickets. I'm waiting. Friday comes. I'm listening to the Liz Wilde show, and show comes to an end, and they didn't announce the winner. I pick up the phone. I call right away, hit the station up, and I get the producer, Sam. And I said, Sam, what happened? I said, you guys didn't give away the tickets. He went, oh man, we forgot all about that. You know, the grand prize. He goes, did you win tickets? I said, yeah, I'm in the running. So he yells over to Liz, and he said, Liz, we didn't give away the tickets. She goes, who's that? He goes, it's one of the winners from the week. She goes, ask him if he wants it. And he goes, do you want to do it? I said, hell yeah, I'm going to do that, of course. And I raced all the way to the Lowell Memorial Auditorium with a buddy of mine, brought me into the ring. I announced Earthquake, and I'm up on the network now for that day that came out, announcing Earthquake. McMahon put me over to the moon. I remember walking back afterwards, and I was getting high fives, handshakes from all the boys. I was on cloud nine. I get back to my seat, and I got other guys and fans coming up to me. I'm like, oh yeah, I'm in. That's it. I'm hooked. And then some local guys started grabbing me and wanted to know if I wanted to do some ring announcing. Cody Boyings and those guys, hey, you're down in the area. Come on down. Come on my show. And at the time, I didn't realize, but right after that, Pat Piper got to do his whole thing on Raw with Roddy Piper. And Pat and I grew up together. We grew up as all through high school and everything else, big avid wrestling fans. And we had split and parted ways at that point. We hadn't seen or talked to each other in quite a few years. And this all came about when all of a sudden this happened. We end up running into each other at a red light. And I hadn't seen him. He hadn't seen me. Pull over. Let's go pull over. We start talking. And I said, you're not going to. He goes, I saw you on TV. I said, I saw you on TV. I said, this is amazing. I said, we got to keep doing this. We got to find somebody. So back in the day, this was probably 96, right about when I met you. This was right about when I met you. The Pro Wrestling Illustrated used to have their almanacs. And in the back of the almanacs, you had a directory of wrestling schools and wrestling promotions and things like that. And I found one, and it was for, I'm trying to remember, I think it might have been Yankee. And the phone number that was attached to it went to Matt and Kyle Storm. So I got a hold of them and said, look, I'm looking to do something, all that. They said, well, send us your tape and send us this. So I sent them a tape of me doing the announcing and Pat doing his stuff. And they did not believe I knew Pat. They said, there's no way. So we drove down to Rhode Island and met them. And that's when they just started up Mayhem Independent Wrestling. So nobody knew me in the business. Only a handful of people had seen me. Everyone knew who Pat was. And they came up with me being the kayfabe owner of Mayhem Independent Wrestling. And again, I didn't know any better. I just did whatever the hell they told me to do. You want me to yell at this guy? I'll yell at that guy. You want me to throw this guy out of the building? I'll throw that guy out of the building. What do I care? I'm having a blast. And that's how the journey started at that point. And that's when I met you. You were working for Yankee at the time. They had split off from it. I had no idea that there was this big rivalry going on. And I had no idea. Talk about green of the goose shit then. I didn't know about politics. I didn't know about any of that stuff. So other than them getting me in the ring and learning how to bump and being able to take bumps, because that's all I cared about. Just throw me around the ring. Let me have some fun. and then I'll get in. I'll start training and start learning, and that's how it all started right there.
So, Joe, right in the beginning, you said you were thrown out there. You got a taste of actually the big time by going and winning that contest and getting to announce in a WWF live event. Then
Yeah,
after that, going to independent shows and getting on that role as like a CEO of Mayhem. Uh, you mentioned that you started training also, where your vision always was to be a wrestler or a manager or an announcer. Which one was it?
honestly, I wanted to wrestle, but at the time it was funny. I was about 24, 25 years old, right around there. Um, and I actually thought I was too old to do it. And
Mm,
I could speak. I knew I could do that. So I said, well, let me have a little bit of fun with this. And I didn't mind getting physical. I loved the physicality of it all.
hmm
So show me a few moves. Let me make it look good. I didn't want to make anyone look stupid, especially myself. I had no problem taking a ball. I played hockey when I was a kid, and I was a goalie, so I didn't mind getting hit. I'm not
hmm
too bright, but I didn't mind getting hit. So to me, it was more fun. The more action, the more hits, the better off it would look. And so Matt and Kyle worked with me a lot, trying to get me going and figuring just to learn the basics, a lot of new things as we went. Mayhem fell apart at that point, and I didn't have a home. I had nowhere to go. And at the time, the WWA was running, which was Mike Sparta's group, and he was still doing dojo shows.
hmm
So that's when they were bringing in the Funks and Kowalski. They were all kind of involved, all kind of working together. And so I came in right at the tail end. Mike was hard to crack to get in there.
Yeah.
You had to know somebody and all that. He brought me in, and he kept me close to keep an eye on me to see what I was actually going to do. And then he realized I really wanted to do this. I didn't care what you wanted me to do. Let me be a part of this. I set the ring up, drive the truck. I didn't care. I just wanted to get back into it. And so, I got to see the beginning stages of the Hardys and the beginning stages of, Kurt Angle and, then Dr. Death, Steve Williams. I get to see all these guys as they came in just before they went to WWF at the time.
hmm
So to me, I'm learning from some of these great guys that are there. And they had me do a few things. I did a little ring announcing. I did a little bit of this. And then Dangerous Danny Davis was there. And he pulled me aside and he said, we need another referee. He goes, can you get a shirt? And I said, yeah, I'll run down. I ran down. I forget where I went and got one. It might have been like Athlete's Foot or somewhere like that at the time. And I got a referee shirt. I came in again. I have no idea what I'm doing, but he's going to have me work his match. And he goes, I'm going to walk you through everything. And so I started walking through. Well, then I got hooked with the referee thing because I'm like, I can be animated. I can have a lot of fun. I had the best seat in the house. And I was learning from them because as you're in there, there were guys that I got to get in there with that would really pull you in and teach you what to do. And like, you'll put the referees where you want them. And a referee can make or break a match. If you're
Yeah.
in the wrong place, you're going to get steamrolled.
Yeah.
And you're going to screw something up, and you can't. There's so much that can happen that can go wrong. But I was like a sponge. I had to learn this. I needed to learn. Now that this was going to be my role, I threw myself into it. And talking with Danny, and then Danny really took me under his wing, and he busted my chops, boy, in the beginning. He did not learn. He did not teach me easily. I had to learn the hard way. He really broke me in hard. Things that how it was. They would never do the stuff they did to us back
Yeah.
then.
Yeah.
And you had to earn your dues. But you know what? There's something to be said about that. Earning your dues and understanding what it's like and carrying people's bags, setting up the ring and still getting in there and doing what you have to do. I mean, even now, people may not even realize this, but the WWE referees are all on the ring crew. They all set that ring up. You know better than anybody. You're there more than most of the guys I know. That's part of their gig. That's what they do. And they're in charge of merchandise too, making sure that gets there. There's a lot of responsibilities other than being, and now you've got to keep your head on a swivel in that ring and make sure you know what you're doing. So I was constantly asking and picking his brain. And the good part about what went on with Spartas is he brought in Dr. Tom Pritchard an awful lot. Mike Bucci, Nova, a ton of times to do camps and things like that. Mike was real good with me about having me go to those camps. If you want to go, you go right ahead. And Doc and I talked for a long time. He told me, oh man, he whipped me into shape a few times too. He let me have it when I screwed up, and then would definitely praise you when things went well. But he was really good, and he knew again I wanted to learn. I was in this. This was something I really loved doing, and that whole thing. Of course, then excuse me, that comes to an end. And so, what do you do next?
Yep. So that was one of my questions because after the whole Mayhem run, I didn't see you for a little bit, and then we met again as spotters, and then you had the role as a referee, and yeah, like you said, you were in there with some top talent.
Oh,
We was working with some of the top guys that would come from WWF at the time, and it
yep.
was a learning experience for all of us.
It really was.
Definitely
That
was.
was where you couldn't pay to get that kind of training
Yeah, it's
to work with those
different
guys.
times now, definitely. Chris,
Yeah, I mean, look, when I look back and I see the guys that I got in that ring with, guys like Billy Gunn, guys like Chris Candido, man, you want to talk about a talent?
hmm
Chris Candido taught me more than anything to take what you do serious, but don't take yourself serious. He was so good at having fun while he did what he did. His psychology was amazing. The way that he set up a match, he'd go over things with me and just tell me, just watch for this, watch for that, stay out of the way. And that was all I needed to do, but then Sergeant Slaughter, and to get in the Jimmy Snuka, and then Eddie Guerrero. My one of my greatest matches I ever refereed was Eddie Guerrero against Fred Curry. That was an amazing learning. And Eddie took me for 3-4 hours. We talked one day, and I got inside his head. And this was he had going through the transition of leaving WWE, getting himself clean and sober, which is when I met him, when he was trying to get back. And then it was Backlash in the Worcester Centrum. Dr. Tom was there, pulled Pat Piper and myself to the back. We ended up going, and Eddie remembered me right away. He was walking by, and he was a champion at the time. And he came over to me, asked me about my son, asked me how I was doing, gave me a big hug. That meant more to me, I think, because he saw me on his way down and back up and still remembered me. And I'll never forget that he taught me a lot of lessons, life lessons too, that we talked about. It wasn't just wrestling, it was family, it was important things to him. That was an amazing weekend that I spent with him while we were working. And great guy. But I learned something from everyone. And then think about the guys that were there that got contracted, guys like the Highlanders.
Yeah.
Right. When they first came in and Pat Piper was managing them, I can't tell you how many times, they were coming from Canada for a $50 payday, and we'd go out, I'd buy them dinner before they left and throw gas in their tank for them just so they could make it back without having to, beg somebody for money.
Yep.
But I believed in them. They were great guys, and we had a lot of fun at the time. So, these are, how it is. It's a brotherhood. You take care of each other.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You have to. We're all in the same dream, and everybody's chasing the same thing.
Yeah,
So having that mentality, I got a lot of friends in the business. I made a ton of friends. I had so many good times and so much fun. Guys like you and Jose, and man, the stuff that you guys were out there doing, and man, I remember your dad so vividly, right? I loved your dad. I'm going to tell you what, I've never seen a prouder man than your father. Being there with his video camera, videotaping you. We would talk to the side, and he was just beaming every time he saw you, man. You're blessed having that man in your life for as long as you did.
Thank you, man. Appreciate that.
Yeah, he was a good man.
I think the amazing part of your story is when it's all happening, you don't realize the environment that you're in. And I almost like now with the young kids now, I almost want to tap them on the shoulder and say, hey, do you realize the opportunity that you're having? Because we didn't realize at that time,
No, we had no clue.
No,
we had no clue.
I wish
But-
somebody would go, hey, kid,
Well, you know what? I always just enjoyed the journey. To me, everything I got to do was everything I wanted to do. I got to get in there with my heroes growing up. I got to meet these guys on a different level. You're sitting in a locker room with the guys. See, I don't care what it is that you're passionate about. If you're passionate about hockey or baseball or anything like that, that's great. But if you're a hockey player, you're not getting on the ice with Wayne Gretzky anytime soon. Okay? You're a baseball player, you're not going out on the field with Barry Bonds. Ain't going to happen. But my God, if you're a wrestling fan and you're an aspiring wrestler, you can get in there with some of your legends that you grew up with that are still out there on the circuit. Think about that. There's nothing other than Hollywood. There's no other place you could be with somebody that you admired growing up and be able to work with them side by side as a peer, not as a fan, not as them watching. And they know that you watched them growing up because you tell them, man, you were such an inspiration to me. You were such this and so that, and I loved watching you and your work. I'm such a fan of. And then next thing you know, you're sitting down with them having dinner. You're out having a couple of drinks with them afterwards. You're swapping stories. You're getting knowledge. You sponge that in, sitting under that tree of knowledge. Gold Dust. There was another one. I hung out with Dustin. Same thing for a couple of weeks. Man, the stuff I learned just from the stories he told is unteachable. You can't teach that stuff anyway. You'll never learn that in the school.
Mm-hmm.
That these young kids gotta know. There's so many things, dude. You better show up no matter where you are with your gear, no matter what, because you don't know when that time's gonna come. Someone's gonna call you.
Yep.
And they're gonna, it's just like, look at the Patriots. Next man up. Always next man up. Look at what's happening in WWE right now, right? CM Punk's down and hurt. So now what? Next man up. Everything starts shifting. You better be ready for that move. And that's where you need to excel to get yourself to, no matter what.
Always have to be prepared, always have to be ready, and always have to be willing to pay your dues to get to the top and get to where you want to be at. Joe, so, before we move on from the WWA, because we shared a lot of crazy stories, a lot of learning, but a lot of crazy stories with Mike. Any crazy stories with Spotter that you can share?
I hear it. I hear it coming.
Sparta was one of the greatest characters he ever had. Okay, the greatest gimmick there was him, and he was as real as it came across. Right? If you wanted, he was our version of Joe Pesci. Okay, he was just over the top all the time. Now, I lived near him at the time, and again, paying my dues. I would go to his house, help him work on the ring, fix the ring with him. I'm a contractor. I'm an electrician by trade. So I had all the saws and all the different tools that you could use, grinders, welders, all kinds of stuff. So I'd help him fix the ring up on the off, after the shows and stuff. We'd set it up in the backyard, tighten it up and move it around. And so I got to know Mike on a different level than a lot of people did. Like, a lot of guys didn't know him like that. Mm-hmm. He was actually a very, very much a family-oriented guy. His son was like his shining star. He loved his kids so much. Mike could be a softie at times. He'll probably kill me if he ever heard me say this. But Mike, man, some of the things that would come up. One of the funniest stories ever happened was, we were in Connecticut doing a show at what was it? It was the Knights of Columbus, and on the card, there was Al Snow and Chris Candido. Okay, now were you there? Were you at that show?
Yeah, is that the one they went around the building?
Yeah. Yeah. So we're in the locker room getting ready for the show. Al's putting his boots on. I'm lacing my boots, and Pat's holding court. Now Pat could do an impersonation of Sparta like nobody could. So he starts telling the story about working Kyle Storm on the phone as Sparta. And he used to he'd call Kenny Phoenix or Kenny Doan. He'd call Kyle. And he'd start telling him, Kyle White, listen, I need you to come in, and I got a new gimmick for you, okay? And he'd start this whole thing about telling him he's going to wear a chicken suit or something, and it's going to be great. You're going to be amazed. And Kyle's listening. You could tell he didn't want to buy in, but at the same time, it sounds really like Sparta. Well, as Pat's telling the story in the locker room, Al Snow looks up, right? He's got his hair down. He looks up under his hair, and he looks, and he goes, "That is crazy," because he couldn't believe how on point he was. Mm-hmm. Meanwhile, I'm elbowing Pat, and I'm going, Pat, Pat, cut it out. And I look up, and there in the doorway is Spada. And he's behind Pat. Pat turns around, and he's just, in Spada's voice, goes, fuck. Like that, right? And Spada looks up at him, and he's shaking his head with that look in his eyes, and he goes, "You motherfucker!" And he kept walking. The whole locker room busted up at that point. I was like, "Oh my god!" I'm like, Pat, he's gonna kill you. You know that, right? He's gonna kill you. And then that night, Mike almost got in a fight with the guy outside who claimed that the truck hit his car. Now, I don't know if you know it, but that night, the truck, the axle broke. We had to have it towed there. The truck was towed and parked, okay? And then this guy comes out of the club, one of the members, and he's saying that the truck backed up and hit his car. There's no way in the hell it happened. Well, Mike starts flipping out in Italian, right? Going off and calling the guy a drunk. He's going on. And the guys, and I thought those two were going to go at it. I'm like, no, sell tickets, get it in the ring. Don't do it out in the parking lot. He was crazy. Mike would throw down. He'd just as soon throw you than know you, man. Stuff. There was some crazy stuff. The Armory over in Dorchester. Oh my God, he went off. There was the night we had Sabu there that night, and something happened with Sabu. Some fan went after Mike. Mike ran at him and tried to jump over the fence, the chain link fence in the front, and his watch got caught on the fence. And as he's trying to jump over, he almost went face first into the cement. I grabbed his belt from the back and I pulled him back so he wouldn't land on his face. And he's trying to get the watch off while he's swearing at the guy and the kid running down the street. I'm like, Mike, calm down.
Motherfucker.
He was such a loose cannon. It was great. It was so much fun to watch him lose it.
Yeah, Mike was definitely a character, man. I had some of my best times.
You know what?
There.
He treated me real good. I owe him a lot for getting me in there and letting me learn as a referee and putting me in there with all these guys. I would have never had that opportunity anywhere else. So I owe him a lot. As funny as he is, and as many people say so many stories about him, I knew him on a different level. So to me, that was kind of cool, you know.
Yeah, he was. You know, to me, he was great. You know, he had, like you said, the camps and everything. You know, he always treated me good. I can honestly say, you know, there's a lot of stories about him stiffing guys from New York. But he never stiffed me. Always treated me good. So you know, I always appreciated him. And it was just fun going out there. And every weekend, you know, there was something new was gonna pop off, and he didn't disappoint.
He didn't. You could count on that every time, no doubt.
Definitely didn't disappoint. But after the run there was over, Joe, we kind of went separate ways again, and I didn't catch up with you again until I saw you working for NECW and Sheldon Goldberg. Talk to us about how that happened, how that went about, how you ended up in NECW.
So the running joke with me and Pat was every time something went south, I always said to him, and it was usually me on the phone calling him, I go, so Pat, how do you feel about being a free agent? And he'd be like, what'd you do now? And I'm like, I didn't do anything. I said, it's just something happened. That's all it was. And again, a miscommunication with me and Sparta went down, and you go work for that Sheldon Goldberg. And I'm like, I don't even know Sheldon. I've met him 3 times. That's it. You know, I'm not going to work for him. Like, but something happened. And so now, you know, you tell that Pat Piper too. He can go. I'm like, okay, I guess Pat's fired too. All right. So I called Pat up. I go, what do you think about being a free agent? He goes, I love it. He goes, let's do it again. I said, all right. I said, where do you want to go? He goes, I don't know. I said, all right, I'll put the feelers out and let's see what happens. And I no sooner had gotten that out of my mouth, I got a phone call from Kyle Storm. And he goes, Joe, what are you guys doing? You guys still working for Sparta? And I said, as a matter of fact, I said, no, we're not. And he said, why don't you come down and check out one of our shows? We're working with Sheldon. We just merged with, who was it? They had, was it PLW?
PWF.
That was it. And Mayhem. Yeah. So now they just merged. They made the Triple Crown Championship. And I had heard some of that. And I said, yeah, you know what? Let's go take a look. We'll go down. So we went down and checked out the show. We were there as guests. And I loved the production of the show. I loved everything they were doing with it. Meeting Sheldon was an honor. He was a great gentleman, great guy. This was awesome. And I'm thinking, all right, where can I fit in here? And I'm thinking, no, I'm still a referee. Pat's a piece of cake. He's going to do the Pat's Pit, and he's Pat the Brat Piper, and he's going to do his thing. So that was easy. I just didn't know where I was going to plug in. And that was kind of my thing. All right, what am I going to do next? So sitting down talking to Sheldon and Kyle and Matt and everybody, and we start talking, and they came up with the idea that they wanted me to start doing the backstage interviews because now they had they were on the internet television, necw.tv. So I said, geez, yeah, I guess I can do that. All right. But now I was still like that physicality, I wanted to get in. But I said, all right, now we'll try something a little different. All right. So I start doing the backstage interviews. It was difficult at times for me to remember a lot of lines because the lines, of course, now I've got to learn TV. I've got to learn how this all plays out. So another learning curve, right? You're not just things are filmed out of sequence. You're talking about things that haven't happened yet as if they already did. There's a lot to it. So, again, learning all this on the fly. And then I got more mad at myself and frustrated. And there was a video out there with me taking 24 takes trying to just interview Alex Arion, which is the more I watch it, the more I laugh. Somebody put it up as a rib on me, and I actually enjoyed the hell out of it. I showed it to a bunch of people because I thought it was hilarious just how upset I got of myself. So I start doing the backstage interviews. Now, Sheldon, they're getting ready to go on the regular TV now. We got the deal with Comcast.
Yeah.
And so Sheldon now wants me to come on to do color commentary with him. And I'm like, oh, man, I'll do commentary. This is great, especially if I don't have to do play-by-play. Let me just have fun with the color. So we start doing it a little bit at a time, and I had to get used to it again because you have to learn not to step on each other. You have to learn how not to, interfere and allow the match to happen as you, just enhance it and not overshadow it, overtake it. As all this is going on, Sheldon gets a radio show on 10 a.m. in we were at the Quincy Armory, and this was in Marina Bay in Quincy. So he says to me, he goes, Joe, he goes, I need someone to fill in. Sean Gorman, who was one of the heel managers at the time, was there. He got sick and couldn't make it to the show. So he had a couple people filling in for him, and I lived the closest. So he said, do you want to come in? I said, yeah, I'll come in. Those first 3 or 4 shows I did with him were so compelling. I think I said 3 words during the whole thing. I didn't know what to do. I was just sitting there just kind of nodding my head while I'm on radio, not on where anybody can see me. So I can't be as animated. I think I'm being animated, but no one can see me. And then he finally breaks it down. He explains to me, Joe, this is a conversation we're having. We're going to talk. We're going to tell a story. He goes, you can talk to me on the phone for an hour. He goes, I can't get 3 words out of you on the radio. So I start laughing. I'm going, I didn't think about it like that. Okay. So now I started interacting more with him. And at the same time, I end up becoming the executive producer of the show because now I'm doing production. So now I'm in the booth and I'm doing the drops in and I'm bringing the guests on and I'm doing the questions and answers and I'm doing a whole bunch of stuff and bringing in the callers in so we can, answer their questions. And now I'm starting to get a good flow. So now as we're doing the commentary for the matches, it's second nature to me now. Now the 2 of us are just having a conversation about the match. And I learned just how easy that was, but he had to teach me that. And again, it's something that I owe him that I can never repay him for, bringing me to that point. And then there was an incident where I got hurt. I ended up getting my shoulder separated with an altercation with Brandon Locke. They had my son in the ring, scared my son. I went in to defend my son, take a swing at Brandon, and Brandon did what he's supposed to do, and he put me on my ass and knocked me out for a while there with my separated shoulder and all. Subsequently after that, everything kind of went downhill. My marriage was falling apart at the time. It was not a good idea to be involved with wrestling then. I went through a divorce. So I kind of got out of it for a few years. And then I slowly got brought back in. Sheldon did a couple of shows, brought me in to do a few here and there. Top Rope had brought me in to do a couple of ring announcing, just little things, you know what I mean? And slowly the bug started biting me again. And I'll tell you, some of my favorite stuff that we did in NECW was with the Crown Jewels and Mr. Fabulous, Tony Ulysses. Hilarious stuff. And the stuff with you guys, you, Jose, Ryan Bisbal, Ivy, the freaking Ricans. You guys were so good. Like, I loved that faction. I don't know how you felt about it. For me, being able to interact with you guys and put you guys over, I had so much fun with it. It was. Did you enjoy doing? Let me ask you a question. Did you enjoy doing? You guys were baby faces. You guys weren't heels.
Yeah, I mean, those were some good times. I really enjoy that run, especially working with Tony Ulysses and Jason Rumble and Damon. Those were those good matches. We had good chemistry together, so it
Yes.
made it easy every time that we were in the ring with each other, and the promos and the whole build up to the whole angle that we had with them. That was fun. Those were
It
fun
was
times.
amazing because, like you said, the chemistry was there. You guys made it so easy to call the match. It was so much fun watching you guys. So, and again, that was the first time there were no big name stars. We were the big name stars. People came to see you. They came to see Ryan. They came to see, Max Bauer. We didn't have a name to draw. You
Hmm.
guys were the draw, and that I thought was an amazing thing that Sheldon was able to do. And I always appreciated the fact that he felt you guys were good enough to have out there to bring in the crowd, and you did.
Hmm.
There were people there that were painting their faces up like you guys when Ryan had his face painted for a while there for a little bit. And then, the flags and you guys, the Puerto Rican flags were out. I mean, the pride was there. I was like, this is dynamite. You know what I mean? We kind of cornered that whole little system. We were the greatest thing in New England at the time.
Hmm. Yeah, definitely some good crowds, some heated angles, and it felt good, man. Sometimes you just get that feeling about certain things, and that feeling was there around that time.
Oh
So,
yeah, it was amazing. Amazing time. It really, really was. Um,
Chris, you're sitting here. Chris is always the one that talks so much. This is why I shut his microphone off half the time.
Well, no, I'm laughing because now I got a question for you. It seems like everything you do revolves around like Quincy or Braintree. Is that just by coincidence, or is that just your career?
what as far as me being in that area?
Well, no, it just seemed like Caspada ran, Braintree, Quincy. Then you look at Sheldon. Sheldon was running Braintree, Quincy. It
You
seems
know
like
what? I don't believe in coincidences, which is funny. But that was my area. That's where I grew up.
yeah.
I grew up in Weymouth. So Weymouth and Quincy is where I grew up. So those were my stomping grounds. So when I was there, when my uncle took me to the Braintree Armory, he lived in Braintree. So he knew, the posters were up. He knew where everything was going on right there. Then I started seeing the posters and I started seeing that type of stuff, and finding out where everybody was, where all the shows were. So to me, the Quincy area, the Braintree area, the armories were there. Those were where, I chased it. I was looking for it. And then to fall in with Sparta, who at the time was only lived a town away from me. And I didn't know that. I had no idea until he needed help with the ring. And I came and helped him. With Sheldon, he was running the Quincy Armory. I ran that armory. How many times did Sparta run that armory
Yeah.
before he went into business? You know what I mean? So I knew the building like the back of my hand. This was dynamite for me. I'm like, this is local. I was 20 minutes away from it. So it didn't bother me a bit. And I didn't care where I would have traveled. You know how it works. Everybody, we all would have done this for free. You know what I mean? Which in most cases we did because we worked for Sparta. And so it's just kind of the way it was.
You're all comps. I can't pay you.
I'll get you next time. Okay.
Yep.
And, but I love the guy. And man, if I had so much fun with him, you know what I mean? The inside jokes and things like that we had going on. It was a good time. It was such a great time in my life, to do this. And it's funny, you think about, and Triple H had actually talked about this. He said it when they brought Punk back. His thing with that is, if you're still in the same place as you were 10 years ago, then you didn't grow. You didn't learn anything. You know what I mean? We all were dumb kids at one time. We all did stupid things. We all had heat with people for one reason or another. It's like, I don't carry that. There's no need to. We were all stupid back then. You know what I mean? We all know better now. We all learned, and everybody's grown and gone their own direction one way or another. I have no heat with anybody. I don't carry any heat with anyone. To me, man, it was all part of the journey. It was all part of the experience. You learned. I can't tell you. I got duped on a whole bunch of stuff. I got conned into this and ribbed on that, and man, I just took it in stride at this point. I'm like, you know what? That was some funny shit. I can't believe they pulled it on me, but that was some funny shit. So, like the time that Sparta had me, he goes, "I need you to pick up Jimmy Snuka and Rosie." I said, "Rosie?" Now I had a Toyota Rav4, okay, and what I didn't know that Jamal was there with him, Umaga, okay. So we were going up to Lynn. I had to pick him up. It was Christmas time. They went Christmas shopping at the South Shore Plaza in Braintree. He said, "Just pick him up and bring him to Lynn." I'm like, I don't know if they're gonna fit in the friggin' car, Mike. I got Pat with me too. So here I am. I'm driving. I got Rosie to my right. Rosie went 4 bills easy. Okay. He's got the seat wrenched all the way back. In the back seat, we got Jimmy Snuka behind him. I got Umaga behind me, and I'm pushed all the way up against the steering wheel like this, right? And I got Pat Piper in between them, and he's all squished. Thank God he was only this big anyway, right? So, and then as we're driving, Rosie's got his arm around me because he can't fit, right? And then he falls asleep and starts snoring. My car was bottoming out the whole way to Lynn from Braintree, okay? And every time I hit a speed bump or any type of puddle, I thought the whole car was going to fall apart. And this thing creaked and groaned and moaned. I don't think the car ever recovered. I mean, there was so much meat inside of that car. It was ridiculous.
Yeah, those guys
It's
are some big boys, man.
Oh my God. And I'm telling you right now, the nicest guys in the world. I would go to bat for Rosie, Jamal, at any point. They were in 3 minute warning back then.
Hmm.
So they hadn't even really developed, all the other gimmicks yet. Umaga hadn't come around yet, and Rosie the superhero hadn't happened yet. So I'm with them, right out of the camp. And now at the time, they came out of OVW too. Or was it OV? Yeah, it must have been OVW.
Yeah, it was OVW at the time.
Yeah, so they were there with the Haas brothers, right? Now, I had known the Haas brothers. I met them when we were in Mayhem. We went down to Jersey. Kyle, Matt, myself, we went down to Jersey, and I met them down there. And they were doing a run-in against Trent Acid and, oh, man, I can't remember his partner's name. That's terrible. Either way, they were starting an angle with
Cashmere?
who was it?
Cashmere.
Yes, exactly.
Yep.
The backseat boys, they
The
called
backseat
themselves,
boys,
I think
yep.
it was,
Yep.
or D-Sex. Yeah. So great guys, awesome guys. But I met Charlie and Russ Haas there, and I'm looking at these two, and I'm going, these guys are money. These guys have it. Come to find out, they had family here in Boston, and so I booked them, and I brought them up for a Mayhem show that I booked in Weymouth. That same night, Paul Richards showed up with John Cronus. And Cronus showed up, and we pitched the angle that we ended up going to Rhode Island with. That was one of the shows you were sitting in the audience with everyone from with Eugenio and a whole bunch of
Yankee
people
Pro.
too. Yes. And I was sitting there going, I'm gonna have to fight these guys. What do you guys got me into? I'm like, why am I fighting any? I don't even know these guys. Why are you gonna get me into this? Again, don't know any better, right?
Yeah.
And but I brought the Haas brothers in, and they were over like friggin' mega stars. It was amazing. So we put the straps on them. We got them going. So I got to know them real well. And then, of course, Russ had passed away at 27, the poor guy with a heart attack.
Mhm.
And so, but by then, Rosie and Jamal had known them for so long by being with them. So I had an instant connection with them when we started talking about Charlie and Russ and how I knew. And I had pictures of us together, and my mom with them. My mom loved them. And so, we had a good connection right away. So, and with those Samoan guys, boy, when they have a connection with you, you're connected for life. They love you.
Mhm.
You cross them, they will eat you. There's no two ways about it.
Mhm.
But good guys, man. We had so much, and again, laughing the whole way when they finally woke up. And I'm looking at them, I'm going, I'm going to have to get a ride home. I don't know if this car is going to make it home now. That car was in shambles at the end of the ride. So it was pretty funny.
So Joe, going back to Rhode Island and Mayhem, now that you brought it up, was Diamond Dave sent over to cut a promo on us that day, or how did that work? I was always curious.
Well,
So
can you
the
lay the
funny part
story
about
up of
Diamond
that?
Dave
All
is
right, let Joe
All right.
let Joe relate the story because Blackheart's intrigued now.
Well, no, because I wasn't. That was
so
right
Diamond
before my
Dave
time.
Donovan. If anyone ever knew Dave Sherry, Dave Donovan, he's a loose cannon. That kid is just out of his mind. Kyle and Matt had brought him in, and he didn't know who I was. So they gave me the scoop on him that he was just this nut and, real pushy and he does whatever he wants. So I said, all right, I'll take care of that. I got no problem with that. So Dave came in. He's kind of, hey, I'm going to get the main event. I'm this, I'm that. And I looked at him and I go, you're jobbing the minute you get in here. I said, you're curtain jerking and you're going to job out. I said, you go home. I said, and if you do a good job, I'll pay you. If you don't, forget it. That's it. It's over. And I walked away from him. His jaw hit the floor. No one had ever spoke to him like that. And he didn't know who I was. And he's like, and this is when I went by Vinny D, right? Vinny D Martino.
Mhm.
And he's like, Vinny, no, you got to understand. I looked at him and I said, look you call me Mr. D Martino. All right. That's it. That's the way it goes. I said, you're not even going to work. And now he's scared because he has no idea who I am. And Matt and Kyle are pissing themselves laughing. They're like, I can't believe he's working Dave like this. And again, I don't know what I'm doing. I'm just doing what they tell me, right? So now we get there and everybody's scared because all the guys from Yankee are there. Oh my God, there's going to be a fight. There's going to be this. There's going to be that. And I'm sitting there. I'm like, just do the show. Who cares? Look, they just paid to sit here. Put a show on for them. They're paying customers, I said, right? That's how I looked at it. Again, don't know any better. I don't know the politics of what's going on. And Dave just went into business for himself and starts cutting a promo. And I'm looking at Kyle and Matt going, I'm going to get my ass kicked here. I said, what the hell is happening right now? He's like, I didn't sign up for this. I'm like, I just want to have fun. I didn't bring my fighting jeans. I put my nice jeans, a nice shirt. And I don't want to get beat up. And afterwards, of course, now I have to tear him a new asshole afterwards. Right. And so he gets to the back and I let him have it. Right. Don't you ever go into business for yourself again. You can't do that. Do you understand what you just did to us? And his eyes are all like this. He goes, I'm just I'm defending where we are. That's what you do. I go, I'll tell you when you defend it. I said, you pack your stuff and get back. I'll talk to you later. And bounced him out of there. Kyle and Matt were killing themselves laughing. They go, well, Dave's going to get himself beat up tonight. Go,
Yeah, I talked to him after that a while back. We reconnected again during his primal conflict days, and we buried the hatchet on that. And he was like, "Yeah, I was just doing the gimmick,
the gimmick, yeah.
trying to work you up." I'm like, "Yeah, understandable."
Yep, exactly. Dave was one of those guys that he could have been really good.
Yeah,
He had a lot of talent. He had a good look to him. He could work pretty well, and he could work the stick pretty good. It's just
he kind of looked like Cronus. He had that same build.
so that's funny that you bring that up. So did you hear what we did when we went to Ambridge, Pennsylvania? He booked a show for us to come down there. So it was the Mayhem guys. So I went. This is when Mayhem had just kind of split apart. And Matt and Kyle went one way. Randy, remember Randy?
Mm-hmm.
He went the other. Somebody just told me he passed away.
Did he?
Yeah. I haven't confirmed it yet, but again, it's wrestling. Everybody dies at least 3 times before they actually die.
Yeah.
So, but Randy, myself, Dave Padula, Marcus O'Middleton, and Dave was going, and Diamond Dave, he was down there. He booked us on the show. So we got a caravan and we all rode down together. And we get down there to Ambridge, Pennsylvania. We're in this gymnasium. Now, this is ECW territory, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we had the Pitbulls on the show. We had John Cronus on the show. And so Dave was supposed to book it all, right? Everybody's there, showed up. Everyone's waiting for Dave. Dave's late getting to the show. The ring's not even there yet. Now everybody starts panicking because there's a line. There's a big line out the door. The ring shows up. They don't know what to do. I just jump in and just start going, all right, guys, set the ring up here, angle it this way, do this. Then I walk to the back, and we've got 15 guys all sitting back there waiting, don't know what to do. So I just grabbed my pad of paper. I said, all right, here's the pencil. Let's go. Who are you? What's your name? Who are you working? Who do you feel like working? What's your gimmick? I went through the whole thing. Okay, give me everything like this. Got everything down for all. Then Dave shows up after I got the whole show booked, right? And I looked at him and I said, "Where the hell you been?" He goes, "I was fishing." I said, "Friggin' fishing, Dave. What the hell's the matter with you?" And I go, "Whatever. Okay." So here's the gimmick. The pit bulls are there. I've worked with them a few times in Mayhem. They remembered me. I said to them, "Here's what I want to do." I said, "I want to have some fun with this tonight. We're going to have a battle royal. The pit bulls are going to win just before intermission." I said, "And we're going to go right into selling you gimmicks." And they're like, "All right, like that, right?" Because they were in the ring, going to have them win the battle royal. Stop bringing the fans in, sell all their gimmicks. I said, "Main event comes." I said, "You guys got to turn heel in the main event." I said, "That way you get to sell your gimmicks, but you guys get to play heel at the end." I said, "Cronus is going to come in, and he's teaming with Diamond Dave." And we set this all up with Pat on the mic, running the place down, just absolutely ruining the show, dogging the people, just absolutely going heel gimmick on everybody, just like Roddy would have done. He names me, so I come down from the back and I come into the ring with him, and we're face to face, jaw jacking back and forth, and we're setting up this main event. And as we're doing it, I grab Pat and I'm about to pop him because he's just insulted the crowd, insulted me. Now I'm going to let him have it. I pull my arm back to pop him one, and the pit bulls hit the ring, and they spin me around, boom, and they start just throwing the boots to me. Now at this point, Cronus and Diamond Dave are supposed to hit the ring and make the save on me.
Mm-hmm.
They're nowhere to be found. Okay. So Anthony, loved Anthony from the Pit Bulls, right? Anthony Durante, what a guy. He grabs me and he throws me over to Gary Wolf and he goes, "Sorry, brother, you're taking the super bomb."
Oh.
I went, "Oh, come on." Right now I'm all working and selling it. Right. Gary puts me in, he lifts me up. My feet just get to Anthony's shoulders, and Cronus and Dave hit the ring. So instead of just putting me down, Anthony drops me. Right? So I land on my head, I'm on the ground, and the four of them start going at it. Now it's a hardcore false count anywhere match. The place is going crazy. They hit the ring, they're going at it. So I'm lying there. Pat, what does Pat do? He decides to come over and start throwing the boots onto me and knock me out of the ring while he's just directing traffic to where all the boys are fighting. The crowd, the people in the front row come running over to him and pick me up. And I like, kick his ass, meaning Pat. And I'm looking, I'm going, I guess I got to kick his ass. So I go running over to Pat and I start pounding on Pat. And we brawled all the way to the back. And we got to the locker room, let the boys do their thing. I came back out afterwards and finished the match in Cronus and Diamond Dave's corner. They end up getting the win. Pit Bulls leave. Everybody's throwing the pictures back at the Pit Bulls, the Polaroids, all that. They didn't care. They got the money for the gimmicks, right? They did exactly what they wanted to do. Now I grab the mic and I go into this big, huge thing because Dave and Cronus looked a lot alike. So from that day, I dubbed Dave Cronus. And they became the Cronus brothers. And they worked that gimmick for a couple of months. All over the place.
No shit.
Yeah, the long lost brother of John Cronus was Dave Cronus, and now the Cronus brothers were working. And then a falling out happened between Cronus and Dave. Can't imagine why.
Yeah.
And Dave did something, I'm sure. And that fell apart. And then of course we lost Cronus, and I loved Cronus. Cronus was so much fun. Oh my God, he was a trip. But again, good guys that I got to work with. But yeah, I put that whole angle together to make him look that. And John was all over it. He's like, "I love this." Now he had a partner. He could go out and they could do the double elimination and all that, or total elimination, because he'd go high and David go low. So he had another partner to work with.
Yeah, man. Like I said, yeah, they kind of had similar look. They
Yeah.
similar built. So that.
I've got a picture of Diamond Dave with what's his name? Oh, with New Jack, right? And so he's just got a picture with New Jack, and then he flips his hair to the side and he goes hoo, 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 like that, and Jack ain't having it. I'm like, I wish I got a picture about 2 seconds after that. So Jack was probably going to smack him one, but it was pretty funny watching that.
Definitely some good times there, Joe. Speaking of the commentating and announcing, and you've done a little bit of everything in the business. You still doing some stuff now before we came on the air. You're getting ready to start a new journey. If you want to tell the people watching and
Yeah,
listening.
absolutely. Well, so something that happened as I've been going on. We're watching the show. The shows that are on TV now, right? Everybody's watching the products out there now. One of the things I've noticed that was going on is the referees are kind of being pushed to the wayside. They're not being used the way they were. They're not being trained the way they were. Maybe I can't say it that way. They're not being respected the way they should be.
Yeah.
They're being used as like an object, right? There's no credibility left on the referees. And I just talked to Dr. Tom about this a couple weeks ago. Actually, a couple months ago. I was up at Elite Pro and up there with Dr. Tom, and we were talking about it. And he said he doesn't know what's going to happen as far as the referees go. But one thing I did do was I wrote the official professional wrestling rule book. Right now, it's a handheld pocket guide, but it's got every rule in it on everything pro wrestling. And I copyrighted it, got it written up, got it all done. I am the authority having jurisdiction on the rule book. There's never been a rule book in print. There was a gimmick one that Daniel Bryan did, or Bryan Danielson did, when he was with WWE. But if you ever saw it, it looks like I don't know, it's wicked gimmicky.
Yeah.
This is written the way a rule book is, and should be, and that's the gimmick, is that it's not a gimmick. So in fact, the last Fan Fest that we were at, Fan Fest 8 down in Rhode Island, I was selling them there when I had seen you. And I had them for sale. So, anybody can go to the official professional wrestling rulebook.com and order one there. They're only $10. I'll sign them. And I've got referee shirt koozies that I send with everyone too. So I started talking more about the rule book and about the actual rules, and that started momentum going. Now, starting February 7th at 7 p.m., I'm back on WMEX, 1510 a.m. and 101.1 FM, which is down the Quincy, Boston, like Quincy North area. Again, back to Quincy, Chris, sorry. It just happens to be where the stations are.
Yeah.
I've got an actual live pro wrestling talk show where I'll be bringing in guests. I'll be talking to anybody. I'd love to have you guys on, talk a little bit about what we just did now, and give you guys a little plug for the podcast. You can stream it at WMEX 1510. You can find the live stream and listen to it there. It'll be podcasted too on YouTube afterwards and on Plymouth Rock Television, PlymouthRockTV.com. That's a streaming network that I'm a part of too. I'm going to be talking, but I'm going to focus a lot on the independents here in New England too, because I think it's very important that, there's so much stuff that we can watch on television, but this is where, think of how many people, Don, seriously, tell me how many people came from our area are on television right now.
Yeah, majority of
Everywhere.
the wrestlers,
They're everywhere, right? They're in every major promotion right now.
Yep.
And we worked with these guys. We started with these guys. Hell, guys like Vincent, right? And from the Righteous. I remember calling one of his first matches. And putting him over when he first started. Hell, I have the distinct honor of doing the color commentary for Sasha Banks's first match.
Yes.
Which is, that's something, again, that's a bucket list thing, and she's done amazing and I saw talent in her the first day I watched her. I was like, this girl's got the it factor, we've all seen it, Don, you're still getting pulled onto TV all the time. You know what I mean? It's awesome.
Yeah, man, it is definitely the talent pool in New England has been great over the years, and hopefully it continues to grow and go in that direction. Speaking of Fan Fest, we got Fan Fest coming up. Are you gonna be there
Yes,
this?
I am. I'll be there on the 17th of February.
Yes.
And it's funny because Joe Bruin, who runs it, along with and congratulations, by the way, for the New England Pro Wrestling Hall of Fame induction. Congratulations, well deserved. Good for you, brother. I'm very proud, very happy to say that.
Thank you. Brother.
Yeah, he's going to be my first guest on the 7th. We're going to talk about Fan Fest. We're going to talk about the Hall of Fame. We're going to talk some stories of some of the guys and what's happened there at some of these events. Yeah, so that'll be the 17th. That's going to be a fantastic. You see the lineup they got there?
Yeah, man,
That's
definitely a
huge.
great lineup. Huge stars coming in. I'm excited to see Dennis Rodman. I was a
Oh,
Chicago Bulls fan during that time. You know, the golden time, in
oh
my
yeah.
personal opinion. So that's gonna be interesting. But yeah, definitely check out immortalseats.com. Our friend Joe Bruin putting on a great event February 17th at the Crown Plaza Hotel in Warwick, Rhode Island. I think Danny pulled it up on the screen there. We'll both be on hand. Joe, myself, Blackheart's gonna be there. So, come down and check us out.
Let's get some pictures while we're there together.
Yeah,
We don't have any
definitely.
pictures together.
Definitely. We'll do it. We'll do it.
Excellent. It's going to be, and one day I'll come back on again after this because I got a Rodman story. I did security for him back right after he did the NWO thing. I was working security at the Four Seasons Hotel, and he was in town with the Bulls, and I was assigned to him as security. And that's a story for another day because that's going to take some time.
Yeah, we'll bring it back. I definitely will do it again. We'll shoot the shit. We'll have some fun. Joe, it's been a pleasure catching back up with you. It's been a long time. You know, definitely glad to see you through the camera at least. I can see
Yeah,
you. And we'll catch up again on February 17th there at the Fan Fest.
dynamite guys. The pleasure was all mine. Thank you guys so much. Be safe, and we'll see you soon.
All right,
All
Joe.
right, Joe. Thank you.
Good night,
Right
brother.
on.
There you have it, folks. Joe Matterazzo, former referee, color commentator, for NECW, WWA with Mike Spotter, uh, and now go check him out as he has his radio show. Go pick up his refereeing rule book. Even for guys that are learning the ropes and trying to become referees, you know,
I,
great pickup.
I'm thinking we have to pick Joe up from Quincy and bring him down to Woonsocket for one of these nights.
Yes, definitely. Yeah, I'd like to see Joe one more time in the ring, or doing some color, or announcing. So we'll definitely work on that. And speaking of working on things, we're back this Saturday night, February 4th, at the Showcase Pro Wrestling. Is it February? See, I don't know who's doing these notes because Blackheart, but all right. February
See, today
3rd,
is the
we're back.
first.
Yes, okay.
I mean, if you want, we can run a Sunday show.
Nah, that's fine. February 3rd, we're back at the Showcase Pro Wrestling Training and Arena at 126 Main Street in Woonsocket. That's Saturday night, right?
Saturday night, bell
Yeah,
time 7:07. Advance
7:07.
tickets can be on showcaseprowrestling.com or they are available at the door. All seats, $10, handicapped accessible. Nice parking over in the municipal lot in Woonsocket. It is a staple in Woonsocket that people don't know about,
Yep, that's
unfortunately.
this Saturday night at the Training Center and Arena. Then the following week,
Well, you got 2 weeks.
well,
You got a 2 week break, and then we have the last one in Taunton before March anniversary. That is where all the announcements of all the matches, besides the gauntlet, is going to be announced.
so that's February 16th at the Taunton BFW Hall, 82 Ingalls Street in Taunton, Mass. That's a Friday night, 7:47 p.m. bell time.
That's correct.
So get your tickets. They're on sale now at showcaseprowrestling.com for that event. The road to March anniversary. Then the next day we'll be in Providence. We'll be in Warwick, Rhode Island for the Fan Fest. That's going to be a great time. So Crown Plaza Hotel. Go check out immortalseats.com for all the info on there. The lineup's great. We got, like we mentioned, Dennis Rodman, Trish Stratus, I believe,
Yep.
and a host of others. So go check out uh, Sheldon Benjamin and other stars. So go check that out. immortalseats.com. For that, February 24th in Boston, Massachusetts, RCW Live, the debut of Royal Crown Wrestling. That's going to be at Results in Boston, Massachusetts. Go to the website right now, royalcrownwrestling.com for all the info. We're back March 2nd in Woonsocket at the Showcase Pro Wrestling Training Center and Arena for another event right before the big one, the 15th.
15th March anniversary 17, which tickets are available.
Yeah, Tickets are available now.
You,
Last time we had to turn people
well,
away.
and that's the part. We put them up early before we announced the matches because the last couple years, not including COVID, always a sellout crowd. So
Yes.
if you want to go, get your tickets now. They are limited up right now. And again, that's before the matches are being announced.
Yep. So that's March 17, March anniversary, March 15, March anniversary 17 in Taunton.
You're a little off today, aren't you?
Yeah, I know. It's a
Uh,
lot of notes here.
a lot of 15,
We've
17,
been out of the
threes, and
studios for a
fours.
while. It's been on location. So now we'll get back into it.
Yeah, we'll
We'll get
slide
back.
back into it. No, which is fine. But I think the good part, there's a lot of new faces coming in. A lot of, and we were supposed to go into some of the stuff regarding this week, but
Yeah.
we'll bring it up next
Yeah, we'll
week.
bring it up next week. We'll touch up on the Royal Rumble there. We are going to talk about that. We'll bring it up on Thursday. Uh, but yeah, we'll see everybody this Saturday night,
February
February
3rd,
3rd.
707. Address is 126 Main Street in Woonsocket. With all the social media at SP Wrestling, TikTok, which, hey, you want to see a great TikTok, go to SP Wrestling. Christopher Spratt, the educator,
Oh God,
has
please.
the fallout from Tana, which has involved you. That was the first one
What
we
is he
put.
Is he crying or
Nope, very up.
is he
You got to go
moping?
see
Is
it,
he?
or you can go to the SPW Wrestling fan page on Facebook, or the last option you can go to, which everyone's been going to. Over 5,300 people are on our Facebook at SP Wrestling.
Yeah, SP Wrestling on YouTube. We're
Yep.
away, I
Danny,
believe.
what are our numbers? How many people do we need right now? All you freeloaders out there who are listening, who wants the dirt but don't want to be committed,
Yeah,
give
subscribe, man.
us the like because I think we've earned it.
Subscribe to our channel. We're we need 80
923.
subscribers to
Come
reach a
on.
thousand,
Come on, make it epic. Call all your friends, call Chad.
and
Get on
let's
YouTube.
subscribe to the YouTube channel. Let's make things not so. We don't want to seem like we're harassing anybody. So go subscribe to the YouTube channel and find out the real truth when we have the future episodes here on the Showcase Pod. With that being said, Chris Blackheart, we're back in the studio. It's time to wrap it up. We'll be back here next Thursday live on YouTube for Don Vega, the boss Chris Blackheart. This has been the Showcase Pod. We'll catch you down the road.